He still had his batteries.
Oh, the batteries.
So, not that I'm terribly worried that we'll ever get permitted and built for batteries in this county, but it doesn't mean I'm not worried that somebody can go to FSAC and get permitted for batteries and then install them 5 years from now when it gets cheaper. With no real oversight on where they went, where they're placed, or what the population is around how big of a facility. So with that, I think we need to do our due diligence and send this off to the Planning Commission for citizen comment and whatnot. So with that, my motion is to make a moratorium on the accumulation of more than 2,500 pounds of lithium batteries located within 5 miles of any property zoned with any form of residential or rural zoning, so that the county can establish regulations including but not limited to area population density criteria to ensure the safe siting and location of large-scale lithium battery storage.
Is there a second?
I'll second it so we can have discussion.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Some questions as far as, because I keep saying this about, so the 2,500, where did the numbers come from?
The number came off, that was the amount that the federal government uses to create regulation.
Okay.
There was actually a.
That's like the threshold
there
for
was a
regulatory.
2,500 threshold and a 5,000 threshold.
Okay.
So the 2,500 pound threshold would exempt Teslas.
No.
No?
Teslas only weigh 419 pounds.
Yeah, so the 2,500 pound would exempt Teslas.
Correct. Or a car dealership with 12 cars. Whatever. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
And then,
Yeah, I don't have it up here anymore.
so I guess the other thing is the
You'll
moratorium.
have lithium ion battery storages in emergency management, where they have their battery racks in there, but they don't have 2,500 pounds of batteries.
So I guess my thing is it says the moratorium on the accumulation of more than 2,500 pounds. So to me, accumulation, it would be, is you need to add up all of the lithium ion batteries within 5 miles of a property zoning. Does that make
That's not the interpretation of how it's written. The accumulation is because they may be new batteries in a solar facility, or they could be old, damaged batteries, like, some people collect scrap tires, and then it becomes a problem. Some people collect scrap lithium ion batteries, and then they start battery fires.
So you
So
mean,
it can't just be an energy facility, because it could actually be a scrap facility. Hence the word accumulation is.
Do we know that now, this is principally about solar facilities, but it has other, as you said, people could. Do we know now that I don't know, is there already regulation on if I want to accumulate? We have things on junkyards, I don't know, that's what
I haven't seen anything on accumulation in this county. I haven't seen anything pretty much on lithium ion battery or lithium batteries, period, in this county.
And then part 2 of my question, why 5 miles? Why not 4? Why not 6? Why not a mile?
Because
7?
Because I don't know the answer on how far a toxic cloud will blow, at what speed, and what radius. So I'm erring on the side of caution. When whatever group hears this and studies and does the research on how fast a toxic cloud goes, they might decide it's 2.5 miles, or might decide it's a half mile. They might decide it's 7. So the honest answer is I don't know, because I don't know the data.
Okay. And then your statement about FSEC as far as say we took action on this today and we did a moratorium, would that necessarily preclude if I'm a solar company and I want to go to FSEC to get a permit to do that?
Yes.
What impact would the moratorium have on?
Well, the more,
I know on the surface, they say, oh, we have to consider local land use zoning, but I don't,
through my conversations with FSEC, they will not take action on a project if there is a moratorium and you're actually working towards updating your code. If we do a moratorium and it sits there for 2 years, they're eventually just going to issue a permit. If you're actually working on creating some kind of ordinance for battery storage, they will, if the permit is already in, they will apply the regulations that were in place when the permit was turned in, which is none. If the permit isn't turned in as of today, and say they turn in the permit tomorrow, the company will not get battery storage until we've come up with an answer on what we want and where we want battery storage. Which I'm not saying battery storage is the devil. I'm not saying battery storage is all bad. There's perfectly fine places for battery storage, but I would argue that that's probably not in downtown Goldendale. There's also residential communities that have a high population that I would also argue the risks outweigh the benefit. And I'd also argue that out in the tumbleweeds, if there's 2 houses and they're 1.5 miles away, and the study shows that the toxic cloud distributes in 1 mile, then maybe that's a good place. But in all reality, we don't know because we've never had a group look at it.
Have you looked, is there any federal studies or anything that's been published, peer reviewed, that says, what the distance and windage and all that is on, whatever the toxic cloud is?
I'm not an expert and I did not want to accumulate data that could be one way or the other way. I wanted to leave that to the group, that whoever will be seeing this and hearing this, to not have my biased information that I happen to pick off the internet one way or the other.
And who do you feel is the right group to do this?
I would say it would be the Planning Commission, but I think the Planning Commission needs potentially guidance, education, and training before they adopt this.
So do you feel then that the EIS process and the scoping and the comments would not adequately answer all of these questions?
Absolutely not.
Why is that?
Well, it might answer the questions, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to give you the remedy.
Well, I mean, if there's environmental harm or the potential for environmental harm, you have to mitigate that or not do it unless it's found that there is no environmental harm. Right?
Yes, and I'm going to refrain from answering the question because I think it might. I'm just going to refrain from answering that question.
Totally fine.
All right.
Do you have any more?
Would be, I mean, I think the issue that's in front of us right now is about a moratorium, not about the, do we think batteries are good or bad or any of that stuff. That would be determined, is to be determined in the future. I would say for me, in keeping with, I don't like making decisions based on, without having a chance to, I think we need to give the planning department, I mean, for one thing, is like, I'm not sure what the ramifications of doing, we just said there's a moratorium today. I've never supported, even when we adopted the planning moratorium before, it didn't just fall out of the sky and we did it. There was some process to it where we talked about it. We talked to staff about it. We understood, or at least the majority of us believed at the time we implemented it, that it was warranted and appropriate. And so I'm not saying no, I can't vote for this today. I want to have a chance to have a discussion and let the planning staff weigh in on this as far as what would this look like if we did this? And what is the process as far as if we do it, who do we, does it go to the planning department to come up with, you know? And as we know from the past, if we have a moratorium, we'd have to have a public hearing as far as within the 60 days as to why we did it. And then do we continue it? Do we not? What do we do? So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying I can't vote for this today to take any action, yay or nay on it. So I guess in that circumstance, it would be no today on the motion.
I wouldn't take action on a motion that I can't see a map of. And it says, so I'm not saying no either. I'm saying first of all, I don't like moratoriums in the first place, but I've been very clear about that. But I'm also hearing what you're saying about FSEC and their statements. And I think it'd be great to get that in writing from them if we can. And then the property zoned with any form of residential or rural zoning. It says zone twice. If it's zoned with any form of residential zoning, that means that residential is a permitted outright use. Is that what you're saying? Or are you saying R1, R2,
R3.
or a rural center?
Anything that says rural in the zoning, which there's about 5 of them. Anything that says residential in the zoning, which there's about 4 of them, I just didn't feel like listing
Okay.
I think
every single one
I
of
think
them
it's
out.
good to be specific.
very good to be specific and to have a map. And so if we're going to talk to the planning department, that would be great to have a map of that, of what you're actually, the area that's encompassed in this. I think we'd also need to clarify on the accumulation. You're saying the accumulation of more than 2,500 pounds of lithium batteries on a parcel or on a project or an aggregate. So just something to come up with.
Ain't nothing for me, my motion's on the floor, either approve it or deny it, move on.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what you were intending with the motion, so that then we can have the discussion with the planning department and everything else. This is the only time we get to talk about it, so I'm trying to, or were you saying like per parcel, in aggregate? What were you meaning by that?
Well, I need my chi at this moment. To me, it's fairly obvious, maybe it needs to go to legal review for the word accumulation. To me, it doesn't matter whether it's battery storage for a solar facility, battery storage of some hokey Joe guy in his garage that's collecting lithium ion phones. The accumulation is in one spot.
In one spot,
In
okay.
one general, I mean, you could make it per parcel for all I care, but it's, you know, it doesn't mean accumulation is county-wide and we can't have more than 2,500 pounds in the county. So I'm open to interpretation. I'm open to, you know.
Yeah, I just wanted the clarification.
Pick the words apart all you want. It's, you know, the answer's still no. Quit picking the words apart is all I'm saying.
I mean, you didn't bring it forward for no reason. If you want to have the moratorium, then this is what, you know, we need the answers to in order to act.
Okay, we need the answers because I think this board is failing the citizens of this city because they are not acting. Period. There you go.
Okay. I guess, is there any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion failed.